Hey guys, so today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be doing an Ask Me Anything, and this is kind of long overdue. It's in celebration of 1,500 followers, and I guess technically celebration of getting my first video with 1,000 views on YouTube. So that's pretty cool. Very happy about that stuff. Very excited, especially since honestly I haven't been doing too much in the community as of recently. Just hitting one of those kind of writer's blocks or getting a little burnt out on things, but of course, I'm always creating, just not always posting. So, these questions are going to be coming from Instagram as well as Discord. If you guys would like to join the Discord server, I will be leaving the link to that in the comment or in the description below. Don't mind the water; I'll need that. And so let's just get right on into it. So let's start with Instagram, and our first question is from Mamarock Mox. That is very hard to say. Oh, it's not even really a question. It says, wait, what engagement? It's referring to my story that I posted. So engagement, I meant in terms of getting community engagement. So I'm offering free instructions to whoever poses my favorite questions to just people from Instagram and Discord. So if you happen to get some free instructions in your DMs, you know where they came from. Well, hopefully. But no, not engagement like marital. I am single. It's all good. Still doing all right. But yeah, so engagement in terms of community engagement. Trying to get people to, trying to entice them, trying to bribe them into asking questions, which has worked pretty well. I picked some of my favorites here, so let's go ahead and start with the next one. Jose O'Hara. And does the bionicle cactus contain bionicle mescaline? Mescaline? How's that pronounced? Mescaline? Mescaline? Anyway, that is a chemical that I think is like a hallucinogen that's contained in some different cactus, like what is it, peyote cactus and stuff. Short answer, no. No, my manacles don't need to get high. They're characters doing their own things. It's no, stop. But he's talking about this cactus, which I absolutely adore. I just was sitting down one day and I was like, oh hey, these would be neat little branches or something like that, and I made a cactus and everybody loved it. So cactus, it's pretty cool. But yeah, short answer, no. Get your mind out of the gutter, gosh. Next question from Brick Guy Studios. Favorite anime? Is it cheating if I say Avatar? I feel like it is. No, it's a hard choice. So, I haven't kept up too recently with a lot of anime. I know, bad, it's terrible me. I mean, okay, so there's a lot. But like, it's all good stuff, Anything. I still feel like that's cheating, but anything Studio Ghibli is good. I haven't found anything I haven't liked, so yeah. Why couldn't you just ask me what my favorite film of his was, or theirs, obviously, studio, but but yeah, no, like Avatar is a really good show, whether you consider it an anime or not. It's good. So aside from that, like I'd like some of the stuff from like Full Metal Alchemist. That has a lot of really interesting concepts because of something I was also working on that was a story before I even heard of that, which also deals with like a really cool concept with like metals and things. Anyway, none of it matters, but maybe I'll talk about it sometime in the future. It's a story that's a long time coming, but it takes a while to work on it. I'm on page like 20 though. I wrote like 20 something pages. Anyway, Dinosaur Dude asks, how is that peanut butter? He's referring to Peanut, the pumpkin, because look at that. It's so small. Like, you can't not. This is Peanut. Oh, I can't wait for Halloween. I'm so excited. Oh, someone asked me too. Okay, anyway. The next question is from Vinnycenzo94. Hey, nice to see you again. Would you be interested in making more mocks, my own creations, based on prototypes like with the Makuta? Yes. Short answer is definitely yes. I love the challenge that imposes, And turns out you guys seem to like them too. That was the video that hit 1,000 views, so my audience wants it, and I will deliver. Um, as clickbaity as I can, you know, big red arrows, like, look at this! Wow! But no. So the Makuto revamp video actually came out recently. That's what this is. This is kind of a my take on stabilizing the prototype build, making it way easier to build consistently and just more stable structurally. Being able to hold itself up, having like sturdy legs, and just kind of mixing elements in from the actual set that we got, and then of course making it with the prototype. Which I should mention, I will be releasing instructions for this. So the only thing that probably will change is the head build, because this is kind of an illegal build up here. But I wanted to give it something different because I didn't want him having the exact same mask as the original. Oh, and I should mention, because I peeping him up there. But yeah, I was gonna do a hide and seek thing with the Pokemon, but I can't really find any other places to put them. So Scyther's up there, Magnemite's up there, but yeah, the others are around. So maybe I shouldn't have mentioned that and just left you guys to say, oh, I see him. But yeah, so if you guys saw my story, that's what that's about. So the next couple of questions are from Magma Rock Mox. That's a familiar name. I wonder where we've heard that one before. Or was it Maha? Uh-oh. Did I pronounce it wrong the first time? I probably did. My bad. My apologies. Mama rocks. That's what I said earlier, I think. Anyway, long hair or short hair, beard or no beard? I've never had a beard in my life. Never had hair. I don't even know what it is. No, honestly, so for me personally, I guess short hair, because I don't really get to the long hair length. I get to like the awkward phase and it just stays. And it doesn't get any longer. So I'd like to like try it just to see if I like it. But I got to the point where I could try and put it up in a bun, but it wasn't one that looked very good. And so no. So probably, you know, short-ish. I'd still like something I can style, but yeah, my hair is just not kind to me. So beard or no beard? I personally think I look better with a beard. I don't look as good with a baby face. I just don't have that like real crisp jawline, you know. Just that. So you know, beard is kind of where it's at right now. But you know, I have no preference really. Unless you're asking what I'm into. If the girl's got a beard, yeah. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. I've always had a thing for like colored hair. I'm just weird, I guess. I like hair just generally. I think it shows a lot about a person when they can put some time into something like that. Or, no. See, that sounds terrible. I don't expect it, but I can appreciate it. That's what I mean. When someone puts time into, like, doing their hair or doing something like that, it's like, I want to be like, yeah, I want to compliment them if it looks good, because, yeah, that takes a lot of time, and I can't imagine doing that every day. So, glad I'm a guy, I guess. So the next question, also from Magma Rock Mox. What will you be for Halloween? Ooh. So I don't know. With, you know, everything going on with COVID and stuff right now, I'm not certain I'll be doing anything exciting this year for Halloween, which sucks, because, like, favorite holiday, but, my long-standing tradition has always been a play on, like, Grim Reaper Necromancer type thing. That's obviously something I'll, you know, decide on in the future, but yeah, whatever my take on those types of things will be. If I end up doing anything this year, I do work Halloween, so it's a little unfortunate, which probably means I'll have to sleep early and be like, I'll just buy myself candy, you know, I'll be my own trick-or-treater. I'm joking, of course. So the next question is from HB Creates 1985, and thoughts on my mocks. I checked them out. I like them. I will say, I imagine you probably get a lot of flack for like customizing pieces or modifying pieces. I know that there's a pretty large chunk of the community that doesn't like that, and all I can say is you do you, buddy. Because it's your art, you know? You are the painter. You are the sculptor. You are the sketch, or what do they call those? Anyway, and it's yours. You know, you own it. I like what you do. I think you have a lot of potential. And yeah, that's where I stand. It's good stuff. And it's very clear. I think I also like that you at least from what I've checked out, you can kind of fit a decent amount of detail into a pretty small area, and without overdoing it, if that makes sense. Um, yeah, I like it. Just keep it up. You're doing good. So the next question is from Joshua C007. Bond. What's your thought process when you build a Rahi? Do you start with an animal or the parts? So if you don't know what a Rahi is, that is an animal, and a little of both. Every build is different. Every build has a different thought process, so to speak. Some of my builds start out very fleshed out, or like I have a very solid grasp on what I want to do, and other builds, not at all. Sometimes it's also the interaction of pieces. I didn't grab it, but like my Timbura deer set, um, I designed that because of the interaction between the 2003 Matoran torso and the Slicer nose piece, whatever this piece is. Just looking very good next to each other, like they belong together. And so I ended up designing a deer head around it, and it looks awesome. I love it. But yeah, it really just depends. Every build is different, like I said. Sometimes I have a function in mind, and I go and sit down and start designing, and I'm like, oh, this function would work really well for this type of animal, and something comes of it. Other times, nothing comes of it, and that's okay too. Sometimes I'll build something I'm not happy with, or I am happy with, but it doesn't go anywhere, you know? So, yeah, no solid process. I don't have any, like, steps written down or rules that I follow. It's just whatever, makes me happy and whatever is progress. So, next, oh, and I should mention, too, that sometimes I'll sit down with one idea and come out with something completely different. A good example of that was literally yesterday. I was actually making a weapon originally with some like generation 2 parts, and ended up kind of veering off into like the vehicle side of things. And now I've got this thing again. I didn't bring it in here for this video, but I got this little like thing that really reminds me. So if you guys are familiar with like Magic the Gathering, the vehicles and stuff that are like introduced with Kaladesh, the build that I did really reminds me of something like you would have seen from that, with like the steampunk stuff. Not the colors, but with the shape of it. So super cool. Anyway, to the next question. Bruh Ionicles. Nice name. When did you start mocking seriously? I only mock silly. No, really. Probably about 2 years ago. I sat down one day with all 6 of the Borak Va, and I realized, hey, Lego officially made 4 Rahi mocks with these. What other mocks can I make out of a combination of 2 unique Borak Va? And so I sat down and I made 11 more Rahi, and each one kind of steered my direction on how I now believe I like to build. Yeah. So I guess about 2 years ago, give or take, but never seriously per se. Next question. So, Cernium.exe. Will you build the Ash Bear from Mask of Light? That's from the movie. I haven't seen that movie since like it came out, but I do recall the Ash Bear. Yes, short answer. I will definitely make an attempt on that. It's definitely something I'd want to be very proud of the end result, of course. And since that was designed for the movie, you know that a lot of the parts on it are very specialized for the movie, and so you can't look at it and be like, oh, that portion of this build is specifically this piece. Like some pieces you can obviously tell there's like Nuva shoulder blades and all that stuff, but yes, that's the short answer. Not just that either. I definitely plan on doing some other ones. I'll get into that here in a few moments, but let's go ahead and move on over to Discord here now real quick and take a look at the questions. So Speedy Boy, what is your favorite Generation 1 set? That's a hard one. So I think if I was going to recommend a set for someone else to buy, there's one of 2, and it really just depends on what they're into. So, the Master Builder set, for me personally, is one of my favorites because it's a set that even today can be found relatively cheap, but it has the parts to build 15 different models. Not all at the same time, obviously. It's a parts box, and you can build one of, these 15 and give you instructions. And of course, there's enough pieces there to build other things too. So it's really something to kind of let your brain run wild. And I like it a lot for that, without it being a huge time sink either. Any one of those Rahi in that box only takes 20 minutes to build at most. So yeah, it's a really good one. I definitely recommend that one. Aside from that, another one I'd recommend would probably be like the Jet Tracks. I think that's a very clean, very just well thought out set. Obviously, it's not perfect by any means. I don't think that the rider in it is very good. But in terms of the actual vehicle itself, the function is great, even though it's relatively simple to understand how it works. And the whole set coming together looks just very good on a shelf, or if you want to go fly it around or whatever, if you're into the actually playing with them instead of displaying them. Yeah, it does it all. It's just a really, really well designed model. Obviously, it takes a little longer to build that one. The next question from Skylar Luna. I apologize, by the way, for the coughing. I already recorded this video once, but then my camera kind of freaked out. So, what is your favorite Zelda game? I feel like it's cheating to say Breath of the Wild, but it's definitely Breath of the Wild. There's something about that game that feels so different from anything that came before, and I'm not okay. So here's my thing: is I'm not a huge gamer in myself. I love games, obviously, but I just don't always have the time, and it's a game that can very easily keep your attention for a really long time, and it's so big. I can't wait for the second one to come out. I'm super pumped for it, and yeah, it's definitely that one. I think maybe runner up would be Ocarina of Time, maybe. It's also a really good game. That and Majora's Mask are also both obviously very good. They're both held up really well, and pretty high regard in the community. So, but yeah, I think Breath of the Wild is gonna definitely take first. Okay, so next question is from the All-Seeing Eye. What is your favorite crustacean? It's a crab. Did you not expect that question? If you guys are familiar with Discord, crabs are a running thing over there, and crabs are just. How do you not like crabs? They're so memeable. They're so just. Oh, they're perfect. I remember. Oh, what is it? There's this meme, and it gets me every time, where it's just this guy handing a machine gun to a crab. It's from some anime, I'm not sure, but oh gosh, it's great. Also, that claw design is just really simple and really, really good. Definitely one of I've used it on more than one build for sure. Next question from Vinoblade Bionicles. What is my favorite system theme? So, favorite theme made of Lego bricks. In terms of retired themes, Exoforce had a lot of potential. I'm really sad that it didn't get a third year. I'm surprised it didn't, to be honest. Yeah, not all of the builds were the most structurally stable, but there was some really excellent stuff. And again, it's kind of taking its inspiration from the mech style, Gundam, style anime stuff and manga stuff. And how do you run out of fuel with that? I don't. I do think that the later years were not as good, but the first year was really, really well done. Aside from that, Minecraft, the game's obviously good. Most of the sets are pretty all right. Some are overpriced, but it's a good game. Ninjago stuff, there's a lot of stuff in there that also interests me. Again, a lot of dragons, a lot of the mech stuff from Ninjago. The Ninjago movie stuff I think was also really good because again, it didn't take itself too seriously, which I think really works in its favor. So, Super Hasbro 8284. What is my favorite breed of dogs? That's a very hard question to answer. That's very biased. I guess I would have to go with okay, so we didn't personally. One of my sisters. It's gonna sound weird the way I phrase it. I have several sisters, and one of them, their boyfriend or husband, had why am I what it's a Labrador Retriever. I couldn't think of the word. Named Buster, and he was the sweetest thing. He was a big guy, but he was, oh gosh, he was so, just so kind. And yeah, I remember this story. So probably close to a decade ago now, we ended up all, like, our family and a bunch of other people all went down to a place in the state where I live in called Merrimack. So in further south in Missouri. So now you know where I'm from. And it was really fun. We were there for 3 days, but the river was really high. And we went for a float trip. That was a bad idea. Yeah, and I spent most of those 3 days swimming, which if you've ever tried to swim against a river current, that's also not fun. But especially not fun when you do it for like 3 days. You were in so much pain by the third. I didn't know what swimmer's legs were until, day 3. That hurt. I woke up in just absolute agony, and Buster, the dog, would not leave my side. He was, oh gosh, I felt so bad for him because I'm like, you have dog things to do. Go do those things. But no, he was just so empathetic, like he could not leave me because he knew I was in pain. He did that once when I was sick too. I stayed over at my sister's and ended up getting like food poisoning or something like that. And yeah, so the second day I was there, we ended up leaving early for obvious reasons. But yeah, he again just kind of wouldn't leave because he knew I was sick, and I was like, oh, you poor thing. So yeah, those are a really good one. But Shiba Inus are cute just because like they're very memeable. So the next question is from Omi. What's the most rewarding building technique you've used in a mock? If you're familiar with my Benora crab build, that one. That function specifically has probably been one of the most rewarding things I've ever done because I knew exactly what I wanted to do when I sat down and built that mock, and I went through about 3 prototypes before I came out with the final product, and all I knew when I sat down was I wanted to make a crab, and I wanted it to scuttle when I moved it sideways. And so my first thought was using like cams, so like having a camshaft and it would hit these legs all up and down and stuff, and then I realized that there's a lot of issues with that. That was not going to work for what I wanted. And I ended up settling on knob gears, which I'll go ahead and take one off real quick, which is this type of gear here. And what's special about this gear is that when you mesh 2 of these together side by side, when one is up and down like this, the next one is 45 degrees offset from it, which is really important because the way this worked is I had this directly driven by a wheel on the back using like bevel gears and stuff, and these knobs would hit the legs. So the legs, when they are resting on the top of the knob, are at the highest point in their arc, and then when you rotate it 45 degrees, the leg rests at its lowest point in its arc. And so because each of these is one next to the other, that means this leg's at its high point, the next one's at its low point, the next one's at its high point, and it just keeps alternating like that. And you could do that infinitely if you wanted. But I'm trying to put this back on where I got it from. What was so impressive about it is that because that function worked the way it did, it basically meant that there was no fluctuation in stress on the actual function itself. Because one of the issues that I ran into with the cams was that there are points where there's no cams hitting any legs, and so the wheel can turn very easily because it doesn't have to overcome the weight of these legs. But there are also points where the cams are hitting multiple legs at the same time, and also rubber bands were involved, so the legs are putting a lot of pressure on this back wheel, meaning that there are points in its rotation where it's very hard to turn, compared to having no friction on it. So it meant you had all these points where like sometimes the wheel would turn easily and sometimes it wouldn't. Legs were, just this solved all of those problems and ended up being way more compact. I've obviously used that same build since then for like my centipede build, which is technically my largest build ever because it can be infinite. It's modular. But yeah, so rewarding. It's a very, very solid platform. You could use that function for basically anything, but it works so well. It's so honed in for exactly what I wanted it to do. I was super happy with it. I mean, I'm sure it shows through this video. So, um, what is your favorite Bionicle bootleg set? This is from Beth Vinny. Beth Vinny, I think that's how you pronounce it. So, what is your favorite bootleg Bionicle set? Either most humorous or simply the best one you've had or have seen. So I've had some sketchy ones too, but I think most humorous would probably go to the little Rahaga with the Star Wars heads, just because what the hell was that company thinking? Bootlegs being, not made by Lego, made by other companies trying to copy them. But in terms of favorite quality-wise, definitely the Enlighten sets that I've had. So I have 4 of them technically. Well, actually, if you want to be really technical, I have 6 Enlighten brand sets. 4 of them are Bionicle based. And one of my main reasons that they are some of my favorites is just the quality of the parts. They feel like real Legos. But on top of that, they also, created things like this Rao here, this mask, in brown, which is a color we never got. And that brown matches, Lego's original brown. Now, not all of their colors match by any means. There's a blue one I have over there that I had to use peroxide and kind of bleach it to kind of make it match, which does work. But the pieces are very good quality. They feel very similar to Lego. In many cases, the parts have matched. Another piece I have, which I'll show off here in a few minutes, also matches colors. So, it's really good stuff. The only thing is they're hard to find. So, especially the older stuff like the Masker sets, they came out like 10-ish years ago. So yeah, a lot of people that have had them have held on to them. And yeah, I found them cheap, but then when it comes to paying for like shipping and stuff, it ends up being like $40. It's not cheap. So next question is from Some Bio Fan. Underrated Bionicle character. Borak Va, I think. The reason I would say that, and again, this is probably cheating because it's not technically a character. I'm sure when you say character, you want me to like say somebody with like a backstory or something like that. But at the end of the day, I didn't keep up too much with the story of Bionicle just because it gets very complicated very quickly. So why bother? Use your head, use, that, and make your own stories. That's the whole point anyway. If you can build the sets, you should also be able to build the story. But yeah, the Borak Va are some of my favorites just because they're really well done. They're small, they're something you can just set on a shelf and, forget about them if you want to. So the other thing is they're just kind of cute in the way that they're built. Like there's something about them that just resonates as being like kind of adorable. But yeah, they're really well built. They have a lot of really nice pieces, especially if you want to combine them to make other things. Borak Va, man. Also, because in the story, like the role in the story, just the Borak arc generally is terrifying to think about because, obviously the good guys, there's 6. But in terms of the bad guys, when it comes to the Borak line, there's basically an infinite number and it's a hive mind. That's terrifying. Like, you have this infinite number of almost invincible creatures that aren't trying to kill you, they're just trying to destroy your resources so you can't fight them. And it's like, oh, how do you combat that? They're obviously the Borak Va, they can revive ones that you've already killed if you figured out a way to do it. You have ones that can control multiple elements, and then you've got the Barag, which are these massive dragon just Borak Va, they're cool. Next question from Skylar Luna. What's the most useful piece when making a Rahimok? I don't know if I have any specific useful pieces per se. Okay, I guess if I have to pick something, and I don't know if this pertains necessarily to Rahimoks, but the lightsaber bar pieces, the 3 long and 4 long bar pieces, are very useful because without them you couldn't do things like having these arms be able to actually move and stuff here, because that's what the bars allow you to do. They allow you to basically turn an axle point into a pin, if that makes sense. I did want to mention earlier too, because someone asked me about techniques. One of the other things I really liked doing was with like the cat thing that I showed off earlier. This is the Shallows cat, and it's based on the Mawaka and Kanera sets that we did see, except, you know, this is literally half the size of one of those with the same functions. Um, and one of my favorite things that I did with this was actually making the biting function work, because that was probably always the most complicated function from the original Rahi series. When we got the first 5 that we got, that function took up so many pieces and was so complex, and yet this is so much smaller and so simple. And it's literally just a bar that's right back here. This purple, you might be able to see it. Yeah, this purple piece here goes inside the mouth. And when it moves, this jaw wants to go past it, but it can't. It doesn't have enough spring power. Those rubber bands can't pull it hard enough to make it past that. But what ends up happening is when it gets to the end point, this can go further back, but this jaw can't. So it forces it past. And now it's able to close because those rubber bands are there. Then when you pull it back, it just resets because the momentum going back forces that gear back to the other side. That's what's doing it, by the way, is a gear underneath here is rolling past that purple bar. I don't know what to call it, but yeah. So that's also a really good technique. But I guess that's more favorite function kind of thing. But yeah, so bar pieces are a really good one. I just mostly create with what I call base pieces, and those are just like pieces used in any Technic set that you basically have to. They're the smallest pieces. I don't mean axles and pins, but I mean like lift arms and perpendicular connectors and things are what I call base pieces. Those are the pieces I sort. And yeah, those are very useful. But there's like 100 of them, so I couldn't name one. Every piece has its own uses in different builds. Last question I think I'm going to get to today is going to be from Transcrab, and that is, what's one building technique you've wanted to see other mockists use? So I think I would have to say, just be silly. You know, don't take your mocks too seriously. I see a lot of people, you know, blend stuff. We're at a point where people are blending Lego bricks with Bionicle pieces and CCBS type pieces and all that stuff really well. I think a lot of that has come from like the Bio Cup competitions and things like that. And obviously other places, people are just getting more and more advanced in their building styles, which I think is just lovely. You know, it's incredible to see some of the things people have built. And I think it's just mostly about embracing the sillier side of the line. Because at the end of the day, I'm sure I mentioned this earlier, but it's an art, you know? And art doesn't have any rules, you know? This shouldn't either. You don't have to create something that has to look epic or has to meet any specific style or threshold or number of. You can set yourself some challenges, and I encourage that, but yeah, just be silly, you know, and take on the lighter side of things. So my clam build, which was basically a meme, or like the worm build that I did, which was definitely a meme, or even the little snail build. Those are all just builds out of, oh hey, these two pieces interact in this way, you know. And now the clam build is like one of my favorite things I've ever done, because it's a meme. It's just a giant clam with giant beady eyes, like it's Shelter. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, it's good. I like it. Be silly with your builds, you know. Just sit down. Don't take yourself too seriously. Don't take the building too seriously. If you like to modify pieces, do it. They're yours. You own them. You know, if you like to paint pieces, do it. Yeah, some people will complain, oh, you're taking those parts out of the parts pool, or, you know, nobody could ever use them again. So what? They're yours. What you do with them in your free time is your choice. But, yeah. Other than that, I don't have any building techniques anybody should use. Just because everybody builds in different ways. I think my style has a very specific aesthetic to it, and I think other people's do too. And that's what makes each of us different. So, anyway, that's pretty much going to be it for this one. I am going to have to look through these questions again and pick out some of my favorites, because there's some pretty good ones in here. I didn't want to keep this video too long, because I already had to delete one because I made it too long. So, shortened it up. Got pretty much all the questions off of Discord, at least at the time of this recording. and answered a decent chunk of questions off of Instagram, so I think that was like 20 or so. Not too bad, but it's a 30-minute video. So I will see you guys in the next one. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like it, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more stuff like this. I do plan on tackling more prototypes soon, so that seems like something you guys are into. So big red arrow, as I mentioned, and clickbait. No, I'll see you guys in the next one. Oh, and again, if you guys do want to follow me on Instagram, I'll leave that linked in the description, as well as a link to my Discord server where you can get a hold of me anytime you want to. You can make fun of me, you can beat me up, you can yell at me for doing things you don't like. Please don't. Just come and enjoy yourself. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.